We're pulling the handles. We're rolling the dice. We're hoping for sevens. We're going to Vegas, baby. It's time NASCAR visits the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we will be down on the back road to walk you all the way through it. We'll be back after this.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Check your flag. That's where all this race
What's going on, folks? Welcome to the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. And now that we're all in the right order, we can get started here. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock and Rod Villagomez. Boys, it's time to gamble. We are heading to Vegas.
Let's do it, baby. This is what Sin City's all about. Las Vegas, always been a great track for us. I'm running wide the fuck open tonight, man. I cannot wait to dive into this. A little less prepared than usual, I will say that, because this week between NFL free agency, we got F1 back on the circuit as well. We got trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. It has been a packed week, and I'm finally starting to catch my breath here on the back road with you. So cheers to you, and Rod, cheers to you, because I know you've also had a week from hell, if you would, but it's about to be a really good one here in just about 24 hours before you have cars on the track or trucks on the tracks, if I could.
You know, absolutely love Las Vegas. Was there a lot as a kid. Unfortunately, I didn't get to partake in all the great stuff that Las Vegas had to offer when I was that young, but I will say that I still enjoyed the city. I still love the city. It's a beautiful place. I love the racing there. And yeah, Seth, like you, I mean, Australian rules football starts this week. There's all kinds of other stuff too that turns my attention. But again, first and foremost, NASCAR. So cheers. Let's get to Vegas, man. I'm anxious for this. 3 races this weekend.
Yeah, hearing both of your guys' stories about Vegas, I got to cross it off my list, make it down there sometime. Maybe on a NASCAR weekend would be fun.
Planet 13, Elliot. Check out Planet 13. That's first stop you need to make. It's all, I'll say, it's one of the largest of its variety in the world. So check that out. That's the first place you're going to want to stop.
All right, I'm not going to remember that one by the time I go to Vegas. But
You will.
We'll see. Well, okay. All right, so tonight we are going to look back at Phoenix in the rear view first. We'll give you our breakdown of Las Vegas, break down the trends, and then we'll get into the bets, our best bets for the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and a little F1 fuckery. Each of us has a little F1 bet to throw out for the Australian Grand Prix. You can hear it all, and you can get more access to our bets and things as such in the IBT Racing family. It's mainly our Discord group. That also gives you access to our weekly betting model and into our memorabilia giveaways. It's been fun starting this up this year. We've gotten the interaction up. It's been a really good time with the folks over there, which of course include the 3 of us as well as Ryan from My Fantasy Race and the great fans over there. Thanks to our new members that we've had recently. And like I said, we throw some extra stuff in there as we see it. Able to chat today even about some bets with some folks. So it's been a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you on board.
Yeah, man, I remember last Saturday night, I was sitting at the bar. I'm saying how many drinks to bet the mortgage on Chris Bell top 5. And, we got some over-unders going on that. And I pivoted the next day. Did not go well. Should have just listened to the drinks. The drinks were telling me bet the mortgage on Chris Bell top 5, Elliot. The model been absolutely spot on as well. We had Chris Bell rated extremely high, 96% IBT score last week, and we keep hitting dingers over there. And more importantly, though, dude, it's just fun to chop it up with y'all on a regular basis. Our entire betting cards are put over there too, so people can really have access. Like, okay, this is what Rod's on this week. This is what Elliot's on. This is what Seth's on. And is there any crossover? Because that's when I feel like we're really on point.
Right, even with some crossover. And it's fun, too, and we got some opposite ideals, as Rod and I have had, on a particular driver that we'll talk about. Shout out to the folks here with us as well. We got Marcus in early, as usual. I tell you what, Marcus has got to be having a great fucking time. It was a time in my life seeing my driver win 4 races in a year a couple of years ago. Chris Bell's going for 4 in a row this weekend. This kid's got to be having a great time. We got Nick in here with us as well. And we got I Am Notorious in here, Las Vegas, my ancestral home. I love it so much. I'm hyped for the weekend. We're hyped to preview the weekend, too. We're hyped to take a look at all the Vegas bets. But first, we got to look back at Phoenix in the rear view. So at Phoenix, we had a little Xfinity Cup doubleheader weekend, and Orca too, if you care about that, but we didn't put any Bovada bets over there. In the Xfinity Series, Allgaier dominated once again, but had his Phoenix bad luck strike, and Eric Almirola, a little dirty move there on Alex Bowman to go ahead and get the win. In the Cup Series, the option tire really created some comers and goers, but it was still Christopher Bell that won in what was a pretty thrilling finish out there in the desert.
I love the option tires, man. Like, even if we eventually just go to the softer ones, running those full time, I think it creates a lot of fun at this track. Rod, I thought overall this was just an absolutely epic race from start to finish, and you still get the rightful winner, Chris Bell, who continues to be just the absolute man on short flat tracks in this Cup Series right now.
My only complaint is that I didn't know which tires everybody was on at any given time. Like, I know that in F1, it shows you what tires that they're on. In Indy, it shows you what tires they're on. That's all I ask, is because I don't have to try to keep track.
They changed it mid-race. They had a red bar highlighting it, and then mid-race. And then I feel you. I understand.
Well, I was listening on the radio with MRN driving back home from the Carolinas, and they did a pretty good job too of kind of, okay, this guy's up front, he's running well on the option tire. I did see that Fox did change it mid-race too, but still, as it becomes more common, I feel like the broadcasters will have a better way to do it. And to be honest, I feel like if this race was on any of Prime, TNT, or NBC, they would have done a hell of a lot better job than Fox would have done.
Yeah, I mean, and just such a great weekend overall, though. Like, I feel like Phoenix is always putting on quite the show in all three series. It came down to the last lap, last corner. RIP to guy Alex Bowman out there, Elliot. He gave it a hell of a run. He raced it clean. Almirola kind of did him a little dirty, but he's like, when am I ever race Alex Bowman again? So I kind of understand it by that point. And dude, there were some really big surprises last weekend as too. Like Josh Berry, top 5. I mean, he's making that Wood Brothers car run so good. Yeah. Zane Smith, top 10 as well.
Berry wouldn't have been such a surprise. I had him as one of my potential outright picks in the article. We didn't talk about it in the show, but thankfully he made me look smarter than I usually am with having a good running top 5 all day.
And I pumped him as a top 5 in the NASCAR gambling podcast. That was one of my first bets that I made. Beautiful. He was like plus 450 for a top 5. So I was like, yeah, you got to hammer this one.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and like, just kind of a bad day for a couple people who didn't really deserve it. I mean, first of all, you get Daniel Suarez, who runs into Catherine Legg, and I thought Catherine kind of put it in a tough situation out there. Didn't get a ton of time to really get the car under her. Not driving in the best equipment, and I guess the car was just not up to her standards heading into that one. So kind of a tough go for her. Suarez, bad luck running right into her. Tyler Reddick, power steering goes out. He hits pit road on a penalty as well, and he actually played it right. He could have potentially even won this race because he had an extra set of yellows. They gambled, but the power steering just wasn't enough to overcome it. Ty Dillon in this race. Ty Dillon at one point, I think we were all sitting there was like, is Ty Dillon about to hit a top 5 ticket for some people? So between that was great. But then like Ryan Blaney too, first DNF due to a mechanical issue since 2019, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. That sort of stuff just doesn't happen anymore. At least, like you said, Seth, you did get the Christopher Bell outright still. In terms of the bets I discussed, it did end up with Bowman beating Allgaier in that Xfinity race on that little extra matchup I had. And in the Todd Gilliland group bet, the other two in that group crashed, and Todd Gilliland beat Eric Jones by 1 spot to win that group. So got kind of lucky to at least get a couple of units back this weekend, or a couple of whatever demarcation we want to use.
Rod, what did you hit last week? You have any gainers come through?
The biggest one was the Josh Berry plus 450. That was definitely the one that carried it through. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, that was just too high of a number for a guy that had the potential. Of course, there was a couple of spots in there, especially in that last restart where he kind of fell back a little bit, a couple spots, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have all this going. And then the Allgaier one I missed. That sucked because I was so pissed off about that one. I was so sure Allgaier was gonna win that race, but.
The dude's just been completely snake bit at Spring Phoenix. And with Barry too, when he got out of the car, he said, man, this is the first time in a long time I felt like myself. So I feel like, especially on the shorter tracks, Barry in that 21 is going to continue to be one to watch.
And speaking of bad beats and heartbreak, like, I don't want to main character this or anything, but this is our show. We are characters on this show. We go through highs and lows together. And I just feel like I'm on an all-time like bad beat streak. I had Blaney in the championship race last year. I had Blaney to win outright again to start this year at Bowman Gray. So close. Don't end up that way. And then it felt like I continued to have these terrible beats. Austin Cindric at Atlanta gets turned on the last lap. We go to Coda. I throw 6 units. Frost Chastain top 10. Let's do it, baby. He's done it 4 out of 4 times. At last lap just falls out of it. Let's chase Elliot go by the whole 9 yards. And then last week, guys, I just again, Blaney, Bell, top 10 parlay. We gave it out in the Discord Sunday morning. Terrible. That ends up falling apart. Reddick, top 10. Guy of the second best average running position all day. And just, I don't know. But it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. So I don't know if I need to find a leprechaun, rub some type of plant out there. I don't know if it's just do an Irish car bomb. What do you think, Rod? You got any ideas how to find some luck out here? Man, we're on it.
Find the end of the rainbow, maybe.
Go search for some 4-leaf clovers. I mean, I don't know if there's any out there in Pennsylvania, but it'd be fun to go look.
Not this time of year.
Plenty of green grass around you, Seth, out there. So.
Yeah, not this time of year. It's a little brown yet, still from the snow, but we're getting there, man. That damn groundhog. It was pretty close. Pretty close after all. It was about 6 more weeks.
Shout out Punxsutawney Phil. Did I let you bet on that, Seth?
No, actually, I think on Kalshi, our sponsor Kalshi, that over there on our entertainment program, they actually, I think, do let you bet on that. So
that is sensational. We'll have to get on that next year. Live show from Punxsutawney next February. Let's do it.
Yeah, we dropped the ball in college. We were only about 45, 50 minutes from there, so we really dropped the ball there. But hey, I'm never too old to go back down to Gobbler's Knob there.
Yeah, we can do our best Bill Murray impressions there. Anyway, before this gets too off the rails, let's bring it back in. Fast lap news for the week. Casey Mears is going to drive the 66 at Martinsville. He needs 11 starts to get to 500. So the way that they marketed it, it seems like it'll be far from the last time he'll be in that car this year. Again, there's not much the 66 can do, but one of those deals where it's nice to have the open cars out there. Other open cars as well, the open exemption provisional has gotten a little bit of an adjustment. Any future cars who apply for it will have to use it. Remember, there was the whole thing at Daytona. If Elio can qualify, he doesn't have to use it. The field will be 40. If he doesn't qualify, which he didn't, the field will be 41. In this case, the field will be 41. You'll have to use that provisional. You can still qualify. You don't have to automatically have to start at the back, but that's just how it'll be. And on the Prime broadcast, they finalized their lineup. Carl Edwards is going to be an analyst for those 5 races. That'll be exciting to watch also.
Rod, what did you and Cody say? Cody said something hilarious on your guys' show earlier today or yesterday about NASCAR's having a little print at the bottom of that OEP role. It's just we can do whatever the fuck we want. And that's how this feels.
I mean, the clause at the end of it, it's just if you're in the military, there is a clause at the end of everything you get, every regulation you get that says at commander's discretion, which means any of this stuff that just you read 16 pages of, if the commander deems it not worthy or has a different opinion, the commander can change it. And that's exactly what NASCAR does. At NASCAR's discretion. They can do whatever the hell we want, and you guys can't do anything because we're going to go, hey, we said we could change this at our discretion.
Yeah. So. It's almost there. There's a reason that NASCAR is an ongoing court battle with some of the teams, But
yeah,
neither here nor there.
I would like to say too, just before we move on here and get into the Las Vegas breakdown, super excited for Carl Edwards to be back around the sport, man. I mean, talk about bad beats. I mean, this guy, plenty of them. You can think of Phoenix with the rain. You can think of Homestead. Yeah. So many times this guy's been left out to dry, and very, very excited for him to be back around the sport. I think he'll be a great broadcaster doing the pre-show and the post-show there on Amazon Prime. Their football coverage is pretty electric with those shows, so I think Amazon will be similar. And Carl Edwards on the Dale Jr. download earlier this week. Ellie, I know you were checking out that pod too. Maybe arguably the best podcast I've ever listened to. Great to see kind of this new version of Carl Edwards that's a little more poised than his younger self, and just very, very much so a man of God, a man of faith, and also seems like a great husband and a great father to his kids as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that up. I got about a third of the way through it earlier today. And hey, that Phoenix in the rain in 2015, worked out all right on my end, even though in high school I fell asleep before that race was called, and I wake up and I missed Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s last cup win. Anyway, talk about bad beats. I'm calling that a bad beat for myself.
We got Nick in the chat saying, I am nosy, curious, not. What's everyone drinking? Rod, what are you drinking tonight, man?
So I'm getting ready to leave for an Army weekend. So I am separation anxiety from the Berryessa Brewing Company. It's a fine little IPA that's got some floral notes in it and mosaic hops. So good stuff. Yeah, like I said, I'm getting pre-separation anxiety already for leaving this weekend.
There we go. There we go. I got the old the old classic here. Busch Light camo though. We got a camo. I was kind of sitting on this one just for whatever reason. I like the camo. I like, kind of run camo at some weird times in the year. So yeah, got a little Busch Light camo. Elliot, you rolling straight Jag tonight, or what's going on over there? You finished the Travelers finally?
There's still a little bit of the Travelers. That's been my choice the last couple of weeks after I bought that before Daytona. I'm just rolling with the water tonight. I'm going. I got to go straight so you guys can have your fun. Yeah.
That's all. Hey, someone's got to drive. You got to have a DD every once in a while.
So. That's my role tonight. Designated driver piloting the Backroad spaceship through the land.
There we go. We got Nick saying right on, Seth. And the other Nick also saying good call as well. So awesome.
Hey, man. Seth and Busch Light go together like peanut butter and jelly. So there's no surprise there.
Go together like Alex Bowman and top tens. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, though.
No doubt about it. Let's go ahead and crack open the Vegas preview in this week's Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are in Sin City this weekend. The entry list preview just has the 36 chartered cars. An interesting tidbit in terms of NASCAR history, this race is going to be the first time in Cup history that only full-time drivers and full-time cars are competing. At least one charter entry was shared, usually the Ware cars until this year. They would split it between a couple of guys.
Oh, wow.
And this is the first race of the year with no open cars. Each of the previous 16 races had at least one open car, which was the longest streak in the next gen. And like we said, at least one entry in basically every race in the modern era was either a shared entry or was part-time. So this is the first time in the modern history of NASCAR that it's just full-timers, full-time drivers, full-time teams, only guys competing for the championship. Definitely intriguing.
Badass.
I kind of like it. I mean, not to say that I don't like open drivers, but sometimes you just want to see the guys mix it up.
Makes it easier for modeling and doing all, because you have stats at least you can pull from some of these guys from, previous weeks. And, most of them have raced here as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Definitely. When open cars doing things they maybe shouldn't be doing or have been a topic of conversation, definitely nice to just have the full-timers. This weekend, we'll see on the schedule. Starts off tomorrow afternoon. All these times are in Eastern, of course. 3:35 Eastern. We get truck practice and qualifying. Then at 6:05, Xfinity practice and qualifying. Truck race goes green around 9 o'clock Eastern. I love that as a night owl myself.
Lovely.
The Eco Save 200 stage lengths 30, 30, and 74. Then on Saturday, Cup practice and qualifying 1:35 on Prime. Then it's the Laguna, the Xfinity race starting at 4 o'clock, stage lengths 45, 45, 110. No number there. I noticed they did that last year. It's the Laguna. Go for it, I guess. Then on Sunday, it's the big event, the Cup race around 3:30, the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube. Stage lengths 80, 85, and 102. In terms of the comps here for Vegas, it's a 1.5 mile intermediate track. Primary comp has been Kansas. You also have Michigan, Charlotte, and Texas. They're kind of in the group of what we used to call your cookie cutter 1.5 miles that suddenly you look at the schedule and we really don't have too many of those anymore. Intermediate track, tire wear hasn't proven to be a huge issue in the past, but is increasing. And as everywhere on the next gen, especially in the Cup Series, track position, very important.
100%, dude. You absolutely have to have a good Saturday to set yourself up for a good Sunday. We'll talk about it in the trends, but I mean, the deepest to win this race was Alex Bowman P13 in spring of 2022. So, Rod, you really got to unload fast this week.
That one took a late race restart and tire strategy to win. Anyway, Kyle Busch had that race wrapped up.
Yeah, and this is going to be important to just because even when you watched way back in the day, I was actually watching was a 2006 Vegas race, and even then track position was important because there wasn't a whole lot of passing in this. But there's a little more passing now, but back then there really wasn't, and even now you got to start in the front. Although I will say, Elliot, fun fact: Laguna is a workers' union. So if they were to put a number on it, it would be like the branch of the. So like if we said Laguna 200, right? That would be the local 200 branch of the Laguna. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you learn something new every day. There's so many of these sponsors out here. You never know what any of them do. There's not a lot of consumer-facing sponsors anymore. I feel like you know the M&Ms are tied on cars anymore like we used to.
Yeah, absolutely different world there. Right out in your backyard too, Akershire Stadium. Who would have thought?
You didn't even say it right. That's how inconspicuous it is. It's still Heinz Field anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Looking at some of these trends here for Vegas specifically, Kyle Larson leads the field in all-time average starting position, 7.2. Chris Bell, Joey Logano, 3 for Bell, 2 for Logano, lead this field in all-time polls at Las Vegas. Also, though, interestingly enough, they have won 5 of the 6 polls in the next-gen era at Las Vegas. So 2 guys who usually do put themselves in a good position on Saturday. Kyle Busch is actually the only driver to ever win Las Vegas on the pole in the Cup Series, though. And
he had to go to the back for an engine change. I read that stat earlier today, too.
Okay.
So technically, the win from the pole was not even from the pole. And you mentioned Logano, 2 poles here. I read that they've come in each of the last 2 spring races.
Okay, yeah. So you guys know how I feel about Joey Logano here. Not on my card today, but someone definitely keep in mind here. Winners from in the next gen era, front row, 50% of the time the winners come from the front row. 66% of the time it's come from the top 5, and then 83% of the time it's come from the top 10. And as noted, Elliot, it was your guy Bowman who was the only guy to pull this outside the top 10 and drive his way into victory lane.
Yep, and like I mentioned, that took a late race caution. Kyle Busch was the dominant driver of that race. If it wasn't going to be him, I think it was going to be Hamlin, and then it turned out to be Bowman and Larson in the late green-white checker there. All right, so we've got the we'll pull up a comment first. Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying, Nick in the chat saying, how does Rod remember races? I've long since forgotten when I brought him into the sport in 03. It's me. I blame myself.
Yeah, I'm sorry, little brother. You know that I very much retain a lot of useless information. So if I forget your birthday, I'm sorry. At least I remember who won in 06 in the. Oh yeah, it was Jimmy Johnson, by the way. So
was that Rob? Was that on the NASCAR channel on Tubi? You saw that? Because I say occasionally they air some old races.
They do have that. No, I actually went to the NASCAR Classics page.
Right. Yep. So I think that's where Tubi pulls it. I remember watching the 2010 Toyota Save Mart 350 before Coda, sitting in a hotel room in California. If you remember, that's the race Marcus Ambrose tried to coast going uphill. It didn't work out so well for him. Good day for you, though, if you remember watching that ride, because Jimmy Johnson took home the win.
Sure as hell did.
Marcus in the chat saying Bell 13 pulls in the next gen car. Yeah, always a weapon off the truck. Nick throwing out some of his picks. He likes Chastain and Larson to win Cup. We'll certainly get into those.
Yeah, no arguments here. Before we do, though, let's go ahead and look at the iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. I picked 2 out this week. First, you got to go with last fall's winner, Joey Logano. He won it on fuel strategy, but by no means was he the best car. We'll talk more about that later as well. Performance-wise, Ryan says he's maybe about top 10 good, but more like the 8th, 9th, 10th place car. Definitely not a car that would have won, but of course that was just part of his magical championship run last year.
Yeah.
It won some of us a good chunk of change. Also, Brad Keselowski looked like a top 5 contender. It was a pretty short race for him, crashed out and ended up finishing 36th. In stage 1, he was P5. Early in stage 2, running in the top 10, crashed in a multi-car wreck. Was still 8th in the total speed rankings in total for the day. So even though I feel like RFK, not a lot of love this week, definitely could be worth watching out for.
I feel like they're in the mix, right? Like they're definitely in the mix. They didn't project out necessarily super strong for us, but someone I feel like you can't fully write off. I like Buescher a little bit better. He came for us and at 13th. We have Keselowski projected for 17th, Rod.
Well, I tell you what, if you ask Cody, Chris Buescher is going to win that race, and he's going to bank enough laps to win the next Vegas race, and the next one, he's really high on Buescher this week. And look, I can't fault him for it. Obviously, the guy's been doing very well, and he does very well at Las Vegas, so you can't really fault the numbers. But I don't know. Keselowski, for sure, I'm definitely leaving this weekend, but
yeah.
I think I saw one book had a Buescher outright as high as 40-1. That definitely caught my eye.
Yeah, that's not. He can win anywhere, right? He's one of those guys. I definitely feel better about him than Brad. I mean, he needed that big run, that big top 10 that it's been a pretty desolate start to the year for really all of RFK, except like Ryan Preece keeps pulling out stage wins. Like who's ever betting Ryan Preece win stage 2 the last couple weeks has made a freaking bag. I'll tell you that much.
It's worked out pretty well. Next week, we'll see how this weekend goes. Maybe we'll sound the alarm, sound the panic meter on a few guys, but
yeah,
we'll look ahead to that next week. For now, Let's crack open the bets and the parking garage props. So, of course, we always start off with our impressions of the books. Anything notable you guys want to talk about before we get into the bets?
Listen, as far does the silence speak volumes? No, I'll tell you right now, I like that they continue to give us all of the exotic markets in Caesars. And I do like that ESPN Bet now is starting to give consistent top 10s, especially in Xfinity. So I'm happy that it's trending in the right direction. Now, can we talk about when they put these things out? Because I would definitely like them sooner rather than later, because our show runs on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we even got like top 10s individually didn't come out until later in the week than normal. And I do like the markets they have out there, but with F1 being back, I took a look at those markets and it's like, my God, the amount of things you can bet on in an F1 race compared to NASCAR is nuts.
I mean, that is beautiful stuff. I love the F1 markets because it's like everything from the fastest pit stop, the team of the fastest pit stop to, just all the stuff that you can bet on. It's so
what color hair the Monster Energy girls in Victory Lane have. Like you can.
There we go. Yeah, I'm excited. I've put in the groundwork last year to figure out and learn how F1 works, and now this year I get to fully dive in. So hopefully I can make.
We'll do some F1 bets later in the week, and as far as NASCAR books this week, I kind of woke up this week, and I know we initially saw like Caesars throw out Kyle Larson. I think he opened like 3.5 to 1, something like that. I think Bell was in that range. So yeah, I was pretty upset about that and thought it was a crock of horse shit. But as more books started open, I found value at different places. I didn't see a lot of consensus across books in placement props. We'll touch on some of those later. In the outright market, FanDuel left a couple stringers out there as well. Although they did take, like FanDuel this week, I don't know if it's still the same as it was earlier today. They just took the week off from placement props. They've been like, we've been getting crushed and we're not even throwing them out. So other than that, though, like I'm satisfied, definitely. And I just saw Caesars today too. They just posted earlier today here in PA to lead a lap market, not just to lead one lap, but like to lead multiple laps, like the over-under for them.
Yeah, I did see a couple of those. I thought about a couple of those bets, but ended up not going with them. All right, so to crack into the outrights, Rod, I feel like you have the most obvious one on the board here, so let's start with you.
I mean, listen, so for me, I will tell you right now that Seth took my outright right off the bat because I had William Byron, and I wanted William Byron, and I had him out in the NASCAR gambling.
We can squad ride, brother.
I'll back you on that one. And the fact that I didn't see it at 10 to 1 at FanDuel because when I got it earlier, it was 7.5 to 1. I put that in the Discord. I think maybe late Monday night or early Tuesday morning. I saw the 10 to 1. I was like, he's plus 750 everywhere else. So yeah, that's beautiful. So I'll back you on that.
Let's keep the Byron conversation going here to crack it open then. If that was the one we really wanted.
Yeah.
So let's hear the squad ride, guys, because I liked Byron a lot this week too.
Rod, what did you like about Byron?
Well, I just like the fact that obviously he's been finishing higher. I don't have the stats in front of me because I'm backing up Christopher Bell at this point, which is what I was. But I mean, he's had one of the best finishes out there as far as average finish, 6.7 in the next gen era. He's second only to Ross Chastain. And then if you look at the heat chart, right, he's second to Ross Chastain in that as well. He is first in the high-speed mile-and-a-half track speed rankings from last season. I know Seth's about to give all that stuff out. Friends at iFantasy Race have all that laid out for us too. I mean, he's just, look, William Byron has been hot on this track. He's without a win since Daytona, which early in the season for William Byron makes you a little scared because he likes to start the season fast, cool off in the summertime, and then kind of ramp it back up at the end of the season. But, I think he's primed for another good finish. And at 10 to 1, I think that's a fantastic. And then you look at the Hendrick Motorsports and Gibbs Racing have been the last ones to win these races. So like he's due, I think is really what it, and like I said, at 10 to 1, you can't pass that up.
I felt like it was one of those things. So when we were building out the model this week and you just bring up Las Vegas, next gen stats, Kyle Larson is right there with William Byron. They're kind of neck and neck. But then when you start factoring other things, guys, like average running position from the fall race, Larson wasn't that good in the fall race. When you start factoring, Las Vegas average position from a few different races, Larson just wasn't really there. And same on the comps. He had some really bad finishes, got too aggressive at times at places like Kansas, Texas, where he had the car, had the tires, had the strategy figured out, had the track position, and just kind of lost his way. So that's really kind of where he got dinged. And I thought for William Byron to be 10-1 earlier this week, and even still plus 750 when Larson is second in our model. Chris Bell's a little bit further down as well. I just thought it's great. Like, it's the number, right? That's what we're playing here. We're playing the number more than anything, Elliot.
Yeah, the number plus the driver, 10-1 on Byron. I certainly love it. And I'll crack back open the Bell discussion also at 5-1. It's tough to win 4 in a row, but by God, he's the guy to do it. A tweet from Auto Racing Analytics posts every week where drivers would have finished on track if they had run the entire race under median lap speed data. So looking at last fall's race, had the entire 267 laps been run just on the median lap speed data, Christopher Bell would have lapped the field. And only Truex, Bowman, and Byron would have been within a lap and a half of him. That's just how good he was. It's crazy he didn't win that race. And to be honest, even though every week it's been like, is Bell going to keep winning? It would kind of be crazy to me if we don't see him get 4 in a row.
Yeah, so for Christopher Bell, that's exactly where I was at. Sorry, I was waiting, Seth, for you to jump in. Christopher Bell. And by the way, I just want to say shout out to Gator Bait in the NASCAR Gambling Pie with these great cards. I was like, Christopher Bell, that's the guy. To me, this is a momentum thing for anything else. And we also know the models have him up there, and the fact that he's been pretty good on this one. He's 9th overall in the next gen finishing heat rankings, according to iFantasy Race. He's 9th overall at 14.3, but it's right now he's won 3 races in a row and in track on vastly different tracks, right?
Yep.
He's done it on a super speedway. He's done it on a road course. He's done it on a mile, flat, short track. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so difficult to say, no, he's not going to do it. And it's an easy call, but you get scared away from making the easy call sometimes because you're here for entertainment, right? Everybody wants you to give the big flashy plays, but sometimes the easier plays are the easier plays. So I'm saying if you want to go for history and you want to have fun cheering for that, then go ahead and bet Christopher Bell because he's still 5-1 to win this race. So, I mean, you would have said the last 3 races, bet on Christopher Bell, like our buddy Marcus, and he definitely wins. If you do it again today, you're happier even then.
No doubt about it. I think Joe Gibbs letting Chris Bell race dirt cars is the best thing he's done for his team since signing Kyle Busch back in 2008. It has made Bell so much happier, he says, and clearly has helped his on-track performance just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a team that's executing on all cylinders. Like, they don't make mistakes on pit road. They aren't putting themselves back in bad positions. And it feels like, I mean, you guys know, like in previous years, Chris Bell is kind of someone who also goes through a little bit of a summer slump at times. And you can start to fade him in matchups. And this year it's been the complete opposite. He's just been locked in. The only thing really going against Chris Bell coming in is just the fact that hasn't had it compared to some other people in this field, hasn't had a shit ton of success here in the other series. And also like just the average running position last year was bad. The driver rating last year was bad, specifically in the spring race. But then you go to that fall race and he, number 1 in average running position, number 1 in driver rating too. So it was just kind of a tale of 2 different races for Christopher Bell. And with how they're firing now, the 5-1, it makes sense. If he goes out there, we just heard that this guy has 3 poles in the next gen era in Las Vegas. So you're probably not seeing a 5-1 when you wake up on Sunday morning.
No, wake up on Sunday morning with him winning the pole. You'd be lucky to see a 3-1. I feel like we might be starting to get into Austin Hill Super Speedway territory with a pole winning Chris Bell at Vegas. Speaking of Vegas, you got some Vegas boys in the field. I thought about some Riley Herbst love in some bets. Didn't end up putting anything on my card. We can talk about Noah Gragson a little bit later, but of course, KFB, Kyle Busch, 18-1 over on BetMGM. I certainly hope the rowdy love has not cooled too much. Last 3 weeks, he's been top 8, P7, P5, and P8. In our model, he's P9, but that's also a little misleading because 6th through 9th are all at 79% in our model. So you could consider him top 6 driver based on the metrics there. Yeah, all very close together in the middle there. You can preview our top 10 over in the article that'll be up on the site tomorrow, or you can see the whole model by joining the IBT Racing Family Discord, of course. At Vegas recently, he's been pretty good between P3 and P6 in 6 of the last 9, and even led laps last spring, even though he finished 26th. And I feel like with Kyle Busch too, if he could pick any track, any race outside of the Daytona 500, of course, to break this winless streak he's on. I feel like he's going to want to do it at home at Vegas.
I didn't even think about Kyle Busch this week, honestly, boys. Like he was ninth in the model. He wasn't someone I was like looking to fade. He wasn't someone I was looking to bet, but I mean, he's looked damn good. You know what I mean? Like he's been fast everywhere we've gone so far this season. Looked pretty good at Phoenix last week too, Rod. Like not an outstanding day for him, but was a top 10 car on speed alone.
Well, I think what happened obviously last year was such a kick in the nuts to him as far as not being able to win a race. And it just seemed like a really bad season all around, not just from a racing standpoint, but every time you interviewed him, he wasn't the Kyle Busch the fiery Kyle Busch that everybody loves, right? He just sort of was, okay. But I think these first few races for Kyle Busch, you've seen him be racy. You've seen him be in the mix, and you have seen a little bit of fire back. Now he's starting to speak up about things that he doesn't like again. So I think this Kyle Busch might be coming back to us now. And Elliot's right. What better race to win than a race in front of your home and family? And let's face it, this is a contract year. We're going to beat this drum all season long. The fact that he's got to come out and he's got to perform at the tracks that he's expected to perform at. And this is definitely one of them. So I think this is going to be a good week for Kyle Busch. I was on him, not for an outright, but I'm definitely on him to have a good finish this week.
Where are you betting him if you're not betting him here to win? Like it's pretty much like you probably wait till like Bristol, right? Maybe Dega. Yeah. Like you're pretty much not betting him. Like I wouldn't probably bet him Darlington. I'm not going to bet him Martinsville, Homestead. Like
he did almost win Southern 500 last fall though. So
that is true. No, you're right. You're for sure. So no, yeah, Elliot, I don't mind the shot here at 18-1. It's not a bad look.
Yeah, that's a damn good number too. And so are a couple more of these outrights. I certainly like the other number that you have here, Seth.
Yes. Andrew in the chat, do you guys parlay low odd drivers like Larson? So Andrew, sometime I'll take like, some placement prop parlays and winning car number parlays, things like that. I've been known to do that in the past. I usually have a parlay of the week that we throw out on the program. But it's not like I would parlay like a driver's outright with something. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to get that wild with anything. But yeah, Elliot. So I'm going a little bit of a long shot here with your guy, Alex Bowman. And Alex Bowman is someone to me that I just think the number was a bit too long, 28-1 for a guy who not only has won this track, but comes into this race. It's been pretty good vibes for Alex Bowman so far. Hasn't maybe got the finishes he's always deserved, but has ran fairly consistently inside that top 10. He was rating out 7th in our projections, 8th in the Las Vegas Next Gen Total Speed rankings, top 5 in 3 of 5 races in the Next Gen era. Again, he didn't race one of those. I believe that was when he was dealing with the back injury. Crashed out of one of those races. He didn't finish top 5. So, that can kind of be forgiven a little bit. 5th in Las Vegas Next Gen Total Speed rankings. How did he do last year at Vegas in this race specifically? Average running position of 15.3. So not great, but I mean, Ellie, you're probably watching this guy closer than I was in the fall, but it felt like they really figured something out when they came back here. Started P3, average finish for 6.8 in the fall. And then the comps too, like 6 in the total speed rankings at our high speed intermediate tracks, top 10 in 3 of the 4 races, and he wrecked at Texas. So yep. I feel like the outright 28-1 is just too long.
I would agree. Last fall, Vegas was right after that Roval. I had plans that Sunday. I paid no attention to that race live, but he did run pretty well there. And in the stats and data, it certainly worked out for him. And if that doesn't convince you too, the most recent times in the Cup Series that a driver has won 3 races in a row, Kyle Larson did that twice in 2021 and was going for a 4th one in a row. Alex Bowman was your winner the following week. That little superstition. I know people in the Discord certainly like that too.
I like it. Rod, any thoughts on Bowman?
Stat. Yeah, no, that's a fun little stat. I love it too because when they run 4 in a row or 3 in a row, guess what? Alex Bowman pops up to steal the win.
I saw a follow-up too. Somebody replied to that tweet that I saw and said the last time that a Hendrick Motorsports car won 3 in a row, the 48 won the next week. The last time a driver won 4 in a row was Jimmy Johnson, I think in 2007.
He sure as hell did.
We're throwing a lot of Jimmy love out there. I didn't even intend this to happen, but Rod, you're having a good time tonight, I'm sure, with that.
When you pick the best driver in the world to ever lace it up.
Yeah.
That worked out really well for you.
It did, and he drives the 48 car, which is again, Alex Bowman's one of those guys where I wonder sometimes what the barrier is for him to be like a really heavy contender for a win each and every week, right? We talk about it for top 10s until we're blue in the face, but for outrights, it always feels like we always go Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron. Oh, and then Alex Bowman. Like, what's it going to take for him to get into the same level of confidence when
he was there? He was there. What year was that when he won 3 or 4 races, Elliot? Was that 22?
21, he won 4 and was not the dominant car in any one of those races. So I kind of understand that. You look at, he's got 8 career wins and has been the dominant car in one of those. So I understand the people who say he falls ass backwards into it. But then you have just as many unlucky opportunities as you do lucky. I feel like every 4-car team, there's always one car that doesn't run as well. And you can certainly make the argument. I mean, Kyle Larson, one of the best drivers of all time. Chase Elliott, really damn good. William Byron, really damn good. So Bowman being above average driver in a team of 3 Hall of Famers, I get it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's 20 in a room with you guys.
No,
that's what it puts me in.
28-1 though,
too long a number.
I'm talking like a little under a quarter of a unit is what I threw on that. I was pretty heavy. Not a full unit on my Byron outright either, but 0.8 of a unit. Probably could have thrown just a whole unit down and say fuck it. But Elliot, you have though someone else I've been looking at, and then he was kind of 11-1 all week, and now he's popped up at 12-1. Came out of nowhere here. So tell me what you got over there.
Yeah, 12-1 for Denny Hamlin in the 11. Third in the model, has traditionally run well at this type of track, especially in the next gen. Tied for third in the speed ranking on comp tracks as well. In his last 5 races here, he's been top 11, ran 8th in both races here last year, and has led multiple laps in each of the last 9 races at Vegas, dating back.
Wow.
Of course, pre-next gen. Of course, a few of them, 2 laps, 3 laps, but generally they were enough laps to say, okay, this guy wasn't just out front during a green flag pit cycle. In terms of the next gen, hasn't won a Vegas race in the next gen, but does have wins at Charlotte and Kansas that are 2 comps. You could hear the frustration in his voice on the radio last week when he comes up just short of winning that race. He knows he's maybe outside of his prime a little bit. He knows it's going to be tougher and tougher to continue to win races. He's coming up on almost a year since he's won one when we were there in Dover. That's his most recent Cup Series win. But he knows what he's doing at these places. You don't have to teach the old dog new tricks for him to get back to victory lane.
If the people in our live chat don't bet this down before we get off here, I'm going to jump on. We're going to squad ride this one, Ellie. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, third in the model. Yep. He was really, really good at all the comps last year. Second in the total speed rankings for the high speed mile and a halves. And like you said, kind of just dejected, kind of down right now. I think he needs a little pick me up here. I heard he was playing golf this week with Kyle Larson. Hopefully he got a dub there and can kind of keep the momentum building here. But I'm down to ride with you. I'll probably throw like a half unit on this, 12-1. 11-1, I piqued my interest. I thought we were honestly looking at a plus 950, 9-1, maybe a 10-1 if you're lucky. But to see a 12-1 now floating out there, I'm in.
Yeah, I feel like him not winning in quite that long of a time certainly has the books kind of pushing that number out a little bit for us. Very kind.
The only thing about Denny Hamlin to me, and as far as that golf game is concerned, I hope they didn't try to collide into each other off the tee, because I feel like that's something that they would try to do. But no, look, and that's kind of where they gravitate toward each other, right? And if we think Kyle Larson's going to be somewhere in the vicinity of a top 5, top 3, or even a win on this track, Denny Hamlin's going to be right behind him. And the time's got to come for him, right? It's got to come. He's got, like you said, he's pretty much retired at this point. I retire every driver over 40. I'm sorry. As a 40-year-old myself, I know that I would probably be retired, but he's got to break through somehow. And I think this could be a good opportunity for him to do it.
Yeah, Seth, like you were saying about Kyle Busch, it's one of those places where it's like, if you're not going to bet him here, where are you going to bet him? I feel like he maybe has a little more diversity than Kyle Busch in an RCR car, but still definitely these sort of tracks are where I'm mostly looking at Hamlin. Maybe Bristol otherwise, but I definitely feel like 1.5 miles is maybe a little better than a couple of those short tracks at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing some comments come in here as well. Nick asking our top 3 drivers. We'll definitely try to throw these out towards the end of, before we get out. In the model, though, it's William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamlin. And that's probably really where I'm at, so I don't think I would deviate too far from that. Maybe these guys have different opinions, but and Mallory also saying, rumor on the street is chatting a little F1 later. Yeah, we'll throw some F1 fuckery bets out there for you, Mal. Don't you worry about that.
By the way, Mal, FP1 starting at 9:30, not FP3.
Yeah, she's normally on. It must have just been a little typo there.
I think so.
We'll give her the mulligan for that one.
But Elliot, so you have this Ford outright that you're also throwing out before we get out of the outright market, and plus 420 is a wild number to see for a manufacturer outright, especially someone like Ford who comes to play each and every week with those Penske boys at least. But I tell me what you're thinking, because we only have one guy inside our top 12 that's a Ford. It's Joey Logano, and then we get outside. You get 4 out of the next 5 drivers are Fords though, so I think you're banking on one of them to maybe break through here.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where the number is just such a wide disparity for no reason. It's one of my guilty pleasures for this manufacturer outright.
Yeah.
To take the long number. I feel like it's worked for me at least half the time, maybe like a third of the time. I got to go back.
I remember last year, Ford's first win, you and I were both on it, a pretty wacky number, I thought too. Yeah. Yeah,
and I mean, looking at the next gen races here, Chevy's won 4, Toyota's won 0, Ford has won 2. And like I said, we talked about Logano winning here last year on some fuel strategy fuckery. Blaney's got a chance every week. RFK, we were talking about them being underrated. It's one of those deals where they just have less horses in the race, no pun intended, with the Mustang up on the screen there. But the horses that they've got, we saw Logano win here. Penske guys are always good. I don't need to make the same point again that I just made. It's just a wide enough disparity. Sometimes you bet the number more than the stats. If you like any of the Fords, this is a damn good way to add on to that or to hedge yourself a little bit.
My only pushback, though, is that the Fords won. Joey Logano did that in an even year. This is odd year. That's
a great point. I do think that Logano gets a win this year. I know he's not your champion. He's not. I do think he's going to get a win though. Yeah. So if Vegas, he's in that Pennzoil car. Yeah. They always put a lot onto this race. So I'll talk more about Logano later.
Okay. All right. What do you say, boys? Should we jump over to some placement props here?
I'm ready to roll when you are, man.
All right. Well, I got a couple, so I'll unload the first one. Kind of sticking in that Ford camp there with the Elliot. This is the hammer of the week, folks. This is what you're looking for. We're hoping to beat the streak of bad beats with Noah Gragson under 20.5 finishing position, minus 120 at Caesars. And you guys know me, like I'm a sucker for some top 20 bets, and this is what this is. It's the top 20 bet without saying, hey, it's a top 20 bet. And sick to see all these over-under offerings in PA. There were like multiple that I was considering, and I was just like, no, I'm just throwing it all on Noah Gragson here. Hometown hero. This guy needs a good run, man. 31st in points. Been a pretty rough start to the year outside of that run down there in Austin a couple weeks ago. Rated 14th in our model as well. 13th in Las Vegas next-gen average finishes. Better than this finish in 3 of 4 races. The one he wasn't, I think it can be somewhat forgiven as well. He's running legacy bullshit motorsports equipment, and that was when they were still with Chevy, so they're even worse than they are now. So one of those starts was in an HMS car, I will say that, so that can also qualify. But 19th in Las Vegas next gen total speed rankings. What did he do last year at Vegas? Average position of 16.9 in the spring, 17.6 in the fall. So he's definitely a top 20 car. He just needs to keep it clean. He did that at 3 of 4 races on the high speed intermediates last season that aren't Las Vegas. So the only one that he didn't finish top 20 was Charlotte. So if Noah Gragson does not get involved with a wreck, mark my words, he's going to be a top 20 driver here this week. Let's go, baby. Giddy up.
Man, I can't wait for the Ford to finish 21st on Sunday. That's going to be so funny.
Oh, don't. And like the crazy thing is too, like he finished 6th in this race, Elliot, last year. Remember, this was when everyone's eyes were like, whoa, Noah Gragson, like he's fucking bad. And now he's in better equipment, right? He was in fucking SHR, dude.
Yeah, this is at least on par with that 10 car. I was thinking about him for a top 10 also. So for basically a top 20 bet, certainly works out, like you said, at the P6 last year. I think he was 11th, subbing for the 48 in the fall of 22 here as well. So definitely a guy that's worth looking at.
This is a fantastic number. Minus 120 for this. I mean,
it's moved a little bit. I think it was minus 135, but still, still there.
I will ignore the legacy slander. I'm just gonna.
John Hunter Nemechek's like 8th in the points right now. He's talking about a couple years ago. He's not talking about present day.
No, John Hunter is one of my DFS sneaky plays. So I definitely
that was Maury Gallagher legacy. This is Jimmy legacy. This is a whole different ballgame.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Elliot. I love that.
I don't think we have any more legacy bets on the card though. So that's all it might be all the Jimmy love. Yeah. Maybe there's one more in the tank. Who knows?
Rod, what do you have from a placement prop perspective, man?
I'm going with the number 1 car. Give me Ross Chastain as a top 5 car, plus 350 over on ESPN Bet. They're giving us some great numbers this week, but Ross Chastain, for as much as we give him crap about what he is, he's a damn good driver at Las Vegas. He has the best next gen average finishing position out of everybody. 5.5 is what he says. I'm sorry, I'm going to focus my camera up a little bit. He's above William Byron, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. He has the best average finishing position at just under 5. So Ross Chastain has just been fantastic. If you look back through what he's done, a 7th place finish in the fall of last year. Now, this is one distinction too that we have to draw, right? The fall race and the spring race are kind of 2 different races altogether, because the fall race is the championship race, and usually the first 4 are the championship 4 drivers or whatever it is. And
not the championship race, but right before.
Yeah, right before the championship.
Yeah, and that certainly didn't stop Ross from winning at Kansas, one of our closest comps last year in the playoffs.
Exactly. So yeah, they're gearing up for it, and it's just a different set of everybody trying to make it in. So, but anyways, so Ross, 7th place in the fall, 4th place in the spring, 5th place in the fall, 12th place in the spring of 2023. Okay, that was bad. But a 2nd and a 3rd in 2022 in both the fall and spring. So ever since he's been driving this one car, he is 4 for 6 as a top 5 finisher and 5 for 6 in a top 10 finish. So I absolutely love it. And the fact that you're getting him at what did I say? 3.5 to 1 on this one. I mean, the dude lives in the top 5 at Vegas, and I don't know how you're getting him at 3.5 to 1 to do it again.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Trackhouse is one of those teams that I feel like for all 3 of their cars, I'm still kind of iffy on, but they're obviously, I feel like with Chastain, especially with those stats, he's going to be the lead guy that's going to run well for them first, other than maybe SVG on a road course, of course. But yeah, you may as well get in while the numbers are still hot. I have all the faith in the world for that.
I'm out right now on Ross, and part of this is me getting burned a couple weeks ago on that top 10 gainer.
Well, if he hadn't been a dipshit on turn 1, lap 1,
sure,
piled into chase, damaged 7 or 8 cars, he wouldn't have the whole field on his back. He would have finished top 10 if he didn't pull the Harvick, nudge himself into the wall so Chase Elliott wouldn't junk him and end up outside the top 10 there.
Right,
so those are extenuating circumstances.
The only other thing I'll say, and Ross has great stats here in every series he's raced here. The one thing I'll say is last year he didn't have, in the spring race specifically, didn't have a good average running position, very much middle of the pack. He made a pit stop, he made a strategy call, and that's what got him up into that top 10. That's the only thing I'll say is that not that it was fluky, because that's still a team decision. That's still, someone throwing their nutsack on the table and saying, hey, we got to gamble here a little bit. So, I credit the team, but the whole run last year, the big picture in this race, Ross wasn't a huge factor, and then all of a sudden he was sitting on point, had a chance to win it at the end.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Seth, you got a couple more top 10s here. I got another positioning bet. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll throw out another top 10 here. I'm gonna go right back to the Alex Bowman. I don't have much more to say on him than I did earlier. This guy is honestly kind of an absolute clinic here when he gets it going and he keeps it clean. So I found it even money over at DraftKings. I had a boost that I put on earlier in the week. I thought the best number I was going to find on BetRivers was a plus 105. So top 10 Alex Bowman. Again, he's 7th in our model. He really rates out well at the comps. He rates well at Vegas. Alex Bowman this week, boys. Let's go.
Yeah, and like you said, good vibes around the team this year. Daytona, chance to win at the end, still ends up in the top 10, somewhere in there. Ended up with a decent enough finish. Atlanta gets involved in a crash, kind of ran up front for a lot of that. Coda comes all the way back to run top 10. Phoenix starts like shit, has his first decent run here since 2016. Good vibes, hitting those top 10 bets. Don't blame me at all for going back to the well.
Let's do it, baby. Yeah, I think I'm like 3.5 units down on that one. So feeling pretty good about it, feeling happy about it. What do you have here in placements, Elliot?
Yeah, so another guy that I thought about the top 10, but there was the positioning bet open. I'm going Carson Hocevar to finish under 18.5, drinking a little bit of juice at minus 115. The 77 is not going to be ignored on my card until further notice. I'm going to be looking for something if he keeps running this way. Of course, the finishing position, not great at Phoenix. He qualified well, all 3 Spire cars in the top 10.
We had the plus 450 squad ride, man. I was ready.
Yeah, we did, and he ran pretty well early, as far as I recall, but then got caught up in that mess, caught up in the big one. And that didn't work out for him finishing wise. took him out of the race. Last spring
Oh,
was
Ty
15th.
Gibbs causing a wreck. Who
Yeah,
would have
yep.
guessed?
Shocked. Last spring, 15th in one of his first races there for Spire. And on some of the comp tracks, ran kind of in the 15 to 25th range, close enough for me to really think about this. In the comp track total speed rankings, he's exactly 18th. So this is a pretty good number here. There was no love in the Discord for the top 10, really. Took a little bit to come out. And I know, Rod, you certainly don't have a lot of love for Hocevar lately. This is the kind of bet, though, like Todd Gilliland last year. There were 6 or 7 weeks where I was trying to bet on Gilliland as much as I could. I'd have loved an under 18.5 for Todd Gilliland last summer. I'm riding it with Hocevar as long as they give it to me.
This is the only way that I will back a Carson Hocevar bet. And because 18
Fair
is
enough,
such a
fair
low threshold,
Yeah.
like it literally, the 77 should be a top 15 car. The top 10 is so hard for me to wrap my head around each and every week because I just don't see him as right now. Now, granted, in the truck series, that's a different story. In the Xfinity series, a little bit. But like right now, I don't see him competing for a top 15 each and every week. Top 10 each and every week. But a top 15, that I can get behind. And this is, like you said, a relatively low number. That's a very low threshold for him to clear. And I think minus 115 is not a bad gamble to try to take for him to do it.
Yeah, and that was part of my problem with the Gilliland, being high on Todd Gilliland last year, is about the furthest you could bet was a top 10. Obviously, you're not betting an outright a top 5. They didn't really have this market a lot last summer for a guy like Todd Gilliland. Was he going to run top 10 more often than not? Probably not. He was probably going to finish 13th. He was going to come a little close, and that was worth at least the discussion every week. This bet, certainly, I would agree with you. I like 18 better than I do 10. But, of course, the number is going to vary there. But I'll drink a little bit of juice to make myself feel a little better if he can get that finish that we're looking for.
18th in the model. So he's right there. Like he's right at the line.
The
and
I didn't even look at the model, but that's perfect. Caesar sets the line absolutely.
That's legitimately how I play these is how far is the discrepancy between their line and our line. That's kind of how I play this. And so this is a little close to me. I don't think I would bet it because it's right on the line for me. But at the same time, this isn't factoring the growth we've seen over Carson Hocevar's recent races as a whole. So if you're going to lay it, you're going to lay it here, Elliot. Like you're going to lay a couple units down on it. You kind of got to, if you're going to drink a little juice, you got to drink it. So don't mind that call at all from you. Got a couple comments here in the chat wanted to get to. TK saying Hocevar, good qualifier now seemingly, though he tends to fall back as the race goes on and the big guys come on throughout the race. Yeah, like not someone we're playing in DFS, right? Like not someone we're playing over on DraftKings. If you're not doing, position movement points, then I think it's fine. But yeah, definitely someone we're not.
That's almost the first step you take at Spire moving up in the pecking order a little bit is you got to get that qualifying speed. Then it's just developing the racecraft, not only for your driver. I mean, McDowell's a veteran. Haley's been around the block a time or two at this point. Hocevar still a young driver. But, and as a team also, some changes that they have every year. Really, it's almost an entirely different team than when Justin Haley won that race in 2019 or when they were running guys like Quinn Houff in that 77 or even Ty Dillon a couple of years ago, a whole different team there. Got to get the speed first and then get the racecraft. So at least they have the speed down, even though none of them, I think, did they all DNF last week, even after the top 10
close.
Qualifying? It didn't turn out for them good in the race, but early first step. And top 10, maybe not. Top 18, I like.
Well, here's one more top 10 bet for me this week. I love the value across some different books for placement props. Daniel Suarez, top 10 plus 350 at ESPN. I went just a little over half a unit on this. And the reason for the bet here on Mi Amigo, plus 145 on BetRivers, plus 180 on DraftKings. Like to somehow see a plus 350 out there on ESPN bet, that's a misprint. Someone hit the wrong button again. He rated out 11th in our model, 10th in Las Vegas Next Gen Total Speed Rankings. He's finished top 10 in 2 of 6 races here. But the other times that he didn't finish top 10, he has an 11th place in there. He has a 15th place, a 16th place. Also led 103 laps in that span, including 50-plus laps in the fall race at Las Vegas. So I'm ready to get invested here with Daniel Suarez. He's had top 10 average running positions the past 2 races among active drivers at Las Vegas as well. Doesn't do the best on the comps. We know it's kind of high volatile guy, has been top 5 at Texas. But yeah, I'm all right with riding. This isn't a hammer. This is hey, I'm playing the plus 350 because it shouldn't be out there. That's really all this is.
Yeah, I certainly don't hate betting on a guy who really has nothing to lose out there on the racetrack. Contract year, almost the same as Kyle Busch.
Also
Contract year,
fucking
you got to
points
get it
too.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you got to get it done, you got to get it done.
I will say this too for Daniel Suarez. It's a great DFS play as well, because if you look at where he's actually started in this, it's never been a great starting position.
No.
He's always found his way up to the front. So 23rd to 3rd in the fall, 16th to 11th in the spring, 36th to 15th, 24th to 10th. So it doesn't matter where he starts. He can still put a good run together on this track, which is why I think I love your top 10 bet, especially at plus 350. But really, if you're playing DFS, this is a smash. He's $7,100 right now in DFS, so you got to go for Daniel Suarez in your lineup.
Yeah, love
Elliot.
a little throwback to the DFS content here. Hope nobody really misses the tire tier. Certainly a lot of great places to get DFS content out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, you got a matchup here for us as well?
Yeah, a couple matchups that I was looking at this week, and this one, before everyone freaks out, this is just one of those cover your ass because of the number. Same as the Bowman overall guy last week that everyone, oh, guy's so good here. I'm going Logano over Christopher Bell, plus 150 over on DraftKings.
I did see that.
Bell's numbers all the way down at minus 205. There's just enough of a disparity here that it's a good hedge. It's a good cover your ass in case Bell has some sort of an issue, because this is one of the guys that actually can beat the 20. Did it last fall, has won twice here in the next gen. Logano, his finishes have not been that great this year. No top 10s on the board for the 22. It is an odd year, so you're going to see that. And I know there's extenuating circumstances with some of the fuckery that we've seen in the first couple of races. Logano's already led 207 laps this year. I know part of that's super speedway, part of that's option tire. Doesn't matter. Running out front is running out front, especially for a 3-time champ. Just like I said, one of those, make sure my ass is covered to get some plus money. If anyone's going to beat Bell this week, I like the 22 to do it.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool. I mean, they're like back to back in our model, pretty much 6 for Joey Logano, 8 for Bell. So like, if you're getting plus 150 on it, I'm cool with it. Honestly, like I'm not huge on Bell this week, but they're just executing at a high level. So it's kind of what you're betting against is like something goes wrong, right?
Yeah, they finally have the pit miscue or something that lets somebody else in victory lane, and maybe Logano also ahead of that 20.
What else do you have here in matchups, Elliot?
The other matchup is just continuing to fade the 54 Ty Gibbs. So I'm going Austin Cindric over Gibbs at plus 130.
Ooh, plus 130. Wow.
Plus 130 on Bet365. Ty Gibbs is at minus 160, and they are looking at how good Ty Gibbs was early in the year last year. He ran, I think, 3rd or something in the spring, had a lot of speed. That is not the 54 team we've seen at the end of last year, nor at the beginning of this year. Been really snake bit lately, and even when he doesn't have the bad luck, they're still not running that well. They just run into problems when they're running like shit also. So even though Austin Cindric, relatively pedestrian numbers, he does have a 6th here in the spring of 23. And something I noticed too is anti-DFS, but it's something intriguing. His average starting position for his career at Vegas is 7.8. He usually qualifies pretty well and just has not been able to really get the finish.
That's second all time. I saw that earlier. That's really? Second all time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. So yeah, if he can translate that into even a decent finishing position, I think he may only need like a 17th or an 18th out of this to beat the 54, if not even lower down the board than that.
So Cindric doesn't rank very high in our model, 24th, but part of that, like I will say, Elliot, I remember at Las Vegas last year, I had a group on Austin Cindric. It opened and he was like plus 350 in this group. And this is why I don't bet groups anymore. Again, this was like the one that broke me actually. And then by the time that this went off, he was minus money to win this group. Wow. And he qualified again, top 10, great start for him, and ends up having an issue on pit road. And that totally, he went down 2 laps, derailed his entire day, kept fighting back. I think he finally got back on the lead lap, but was never able to get up there to win that group for me. So, I don't hate the, like, I'm not betting fucking Ty Gibbs on this, brother. Like, nope. You know what I mean? Plus 130. I'm about it, Rod. Honestly, I wish it was someone other than Cindric, just because he also seems snake bit on this track based on last fall, but he's a Penske boy.
Pour one out for the 54. Listen, here's the thing about it, man. This guy, the junior jinx is real. Ty Gibbs fans, I tried to make amends. I tried to back your driver. I tried to say that he was good and that he would jump out of this sophomore slump, but he's jumped right into a junior jinx. And look, if he comes out and runs well in this particular race, I still don't think that it's going to be enough to pull him out of an entire jinx. Like, for whatever reason, like, he can't replicate that same success that he had in the Xfinity Series because he's not racing a bunch of 18-year-old kids. He's racing grizzled old men that are past retirement age, and they don't put up with his bullshit. They actually are out there, like, pushing around as much as he's pushing around. So it's not as easy for him in this series as it was supposed to be. So I'll fade Ty Gibbs all day long.
Yeah, any way that I can fade that 54, and a good point too. If you're running in the back, you're going to be low in the points. You're going to go out and qualifying earlier than most, which the track's not going to be ideal. You're going to start further back. You're going to run into more people's shit. So it's really hard to get out of those stretches.
Run with the squirrels, Elliot. Run with the squirrels.
Friends don't let friends bet Ty Gibbs in 2025. That's how Elliot. All I'll say is that I debated that Chase Briscoe over Gibbs matchup for the season.
Yeah, holy shit, I'm glad I have that bet.
Yeah, no, and I'd feel a lot better having that than the over Briscoe on wins. So I like that. The chat does not though. Chat does not. Gibbs over Cindric for a guy Nick.
I mean, he ran great here last year. I certainly don't blame them at all. And the books saw that too. The books took a look at how this race go last year. Ty Gibbs did great. Austin Cindric ran like shit. Okay, here's your number. A number that's definitely not not accurate to present day.
Gibbs haters still love RVG.
Damn right,
TK.
TK.
Let's go, TK. We appreciate you, brother. Hope you're having a great Tuesday evening. We need to get like Rod, like a Ty Gibbs hate club, or like a Ty Gibbs, like some type of T-shirt. Like
Yeah,
I am not with Ty Gibbs.
Club.
Yeah,
not my 54.
Taylor Gray, baby. That's your shifty shirt.
There
There
you
you go. There you go. Hey.
Shifties. Yes, the shifties are back.
All right. Elliot, you got a placement or a number bet. Throw yours out, and then Rod, and then we'll jump into some other bets as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Those the winning number bets, spin that roulette wheel when you're in Vegas. I'm taking over 20.5 at plus 165. You do miss out on some heavy hitters. Of course, it's set at 20, so that you got to take the under for Bell, which is a lot juicier.
Wow.
You miss out on a lot of guys. Your Larson, Chastains, your Chase, Denny Hamlin, Brian Blaney. You miss out on some of those guys, but you get just enough heavy hitters that I feel like it justifies the plus money. It makes it worth a little sprinkle for me. Logano, Bubba Wallace could even win that. We haven't talked about him. 2311 can run here pretty well at the intermediates. Tyler Reddick in the 45. You get Byron, one of our favorites. You get Bowman, a guy we brought up twice on this show, as well as a couple of potential upset winners. You get a few less heavy hitters, but you're also not having to drink nearly as much juice. You get a plus 165, a number that I like a lot, but maybe not quite as much as Rod's number bet he's got here.
No, I absolutely love it. But the over 25 or over 20.5, obviously they set it there for Christopher Bell, right? I mean, that's the logical reason to set it there. But there are so many people above that number two that can sneak up on it. So I like that, especially at plus money. But I also like the car number 8 to 14 at plus 340. How crazy is it? This is what I love about Caesars. They were like, you know what? It's usually 0 to 9, 10 to 19. Like but this time they were like, no, we're gonna break it up even more. But what does 8 to 14 get you? That's a pretty packed group, to be honest with you. Get you Kyle Busch, get you Chase Elliott, it gets you Denny Hamlin, and it gets you Ryan Blaney. Those are four right there that are fantastic drivers.
You get Ty Dillon too.
And you get
hey, easy on Ty. He had the run of his life last week, brother.
That's why I said how exciting. Shout out to NASCAR.
Hey, what happens if he does? If you want Ty Dillon, bet this, but then bet Ty Dillon's outright too.
Yeah.
That's a fun little parlay to get there. But yeah, plus 340 for this group. I mean, with Kyle Busch already and Chase Elliott, those are two really. We talked about Denny Hamlin a little bit ago, and Ryan Blaney being the surprise Ford that could win this. There are so many possibilities of a winner coming from this group that at plus 340, I couldn't pass that up.
Yeah, that was a really cool offering. I'm surprised they mixed up those number groups a little bit, because normally you're right, it's very pedestrian.
Yeah, hell yeah. Awesome. What do you guys say? Should we go ahead and jump into some Xfinity trucks and then some F1 fuckery?
Yeah, so for the Xfinity series, Seth and I know we were both really struggling for some Xfinity bets this week. So Rod, let's take a look at what you got.
Well, what's crazy is that obviously we cover Xfinity all the time, but yeah, look, I am going to take Sam Mayer as an outright for this track. Hey, listen, Cole, the Haas factory team has actually been relatively good this season. And for Sam Mayer, you know, while the Cup Series program has struggled, the Xfinity Series really hasn't changed a whole hell of a lot, and it's showing up this season with Sam Mayer. So we talk about the way that the season has started with so many different kind of track styles, and you can't really comp or handicap because this is a mile and a half. But I'm telling you right now that if a driver can adapt and finish second at Daytona, third at Coda, and seventh at Phoenix on 3 entirely different track styles and still finish inside of the top 10. Like, this guy's out for it right now. Sam Mayer made the switch, obviously, from JRM into this Haas Factory 41. And so far, he's actually been better than he was all of last season in that JRM equipment. How's he been on this particular track? Last season was just a total wash for Sam Mayer altogether. 38th and 14th, bad finishes. But before that, 5th, 7th in the one car. That 3 really good finishes inside of the top 10. So he gets around this track pretty well. He's got some confidence going right now, and I don't think that he's the only show in town pretty much for this Haas automation car. And yeah, I mean, he's actually having a really damn good season, and 11-1 for a guy who's a consistent top 5 finisher here. I'll take it.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably the way to go. I was looking at Creed a little bit, and I was like,
yeah.
Almirola's in the race again in the 19. I'm like, is the 19 just going to wax the field? He ran this race last year and was like 12th, and wasn't so great here. Then I was looking down the board a little bit. Maybe Carson Quapple. Maybe this is the week. It hasn't been so good on the intermediates when he's run them. So, like I said, I didn't really know where to turn. I think Sam Mayer may be the best number on the board right now in terms of outrights.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Oh man, this was a really hard race to comp, and I will have a card for this race. I'll put that in the Discord.
I'm sure I'll have some bets too. Don't worry.
Yeah, crazy busy week, and like the hard part about this race for me comping it was like all the recent winners, they're not around anymore. Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, John Hunter Nemechek, Riley Herbst, AJ Allmendinger. Like these are kind of the guys who I'd be looking to bet. I think I'll probably be trying to get somewhat invested in like probably some Haas Factory team here as well. And like Nick Sanchez is a guy I don't think you should be sleeping on either. He's a P12 here at one point as well. So
you mentioned Taylor Gray. He doesn't really have the experience here. That was another guy. I was like, maybe this is his coming out party of sorts to break through in the Xfinity series. But there are a lot of different ways you can go with this for sure.
Yeah. And Rod, speaking of that, you also have a top 10 bet on William Sawalich plus 140. What are you seeing over there?
Tell you what, the kid's driving this Joe Gibbs 18 car, and he's actually doing pretty damn good at it. He's got 2 top 10 finishes, 1 in Atlanta, 1 at COTA, a 13th place at Phoenix, which obviously, is closer to what we're about to see here. It's not a super speedway or a road course, but yeah, I've seen a lot out of him, obviously in the truck series, enough to know that he's actually pretty adaptable. And overall, I think I like William Sawalich's upside. The fact that he has been running well in that Joe Gibbs equipment. We know that Xfinity, there's kind of a clear tier between JRM, Joe Gibbs, and then everybody else in the rest of the field. So he's in quality equipment and he's been driving it well. Overall in the Xfinity series, hit or miss. He was driving the 19 last year at Phoenix. He started on the pole, ended up finishing in 13th. So we know that he's capable of finishing just outside of the top 10 in this Joe Gibbs equipment on a track like Phoenix, which I know is not a direct comp, but still it's an oval. It's him being in the mix. That's not a road course or super speedway. So yeah, I mean, to me, look, this is one of those fringe top 10s. I know it's only plus 140, but if you look at the rest of the field, all guys like minus 300 or something for this. So you want to?
I know. I was trying to bet that. I know.
You can't do
I
it.
was looking, baby.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the Xfinity top 10 market, though, is there's maybe 17 cars that can finish top 10.
It's getting juicier and juicier by the week. It is getting very juicy. So to find a plus 140, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I still love being able to bet it though. Like I wanted. It doesn't matter if it's a minus 750 for like a Corey Heim top 10. There's still some weeks where you might want to bet that.
If you can parlay it, I wish you could parlay a couple of these top 10. I know Caesars has some like pre-built ones over there, but if we could do it organically, that'd be sick. And yeah, so I don't hate Sawalich here for a top 10, Rod. It's not a bad look there. And man, we talked about it on the show last week, and I didn't bet it. And we were talking about in the chat, got brought up in the comments, Christian Eckes for a top 10, and he freaking did it. But it was like he was plus 160. He was 2-1 earlier in the week, and I wouldn't bet it because I missed out on the 2-1. So I kind of hated myself for that. And also, apparently, Austin Hill's just hitting walls now, the inside wall.
We didn't talk about that.
Dog.
That was one of the, at least he admitted that he was a moron, because that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Killed Creed's day, killed Dean Thompson's
Killed my
day.
fucking betting card, bro. Like, I was down 6 units. If you remember, I also had him over Brandon Jones parlay. So
Yeah.
everything I made on Austin Hill betting the 3-1 outright earlier this year, I just lost on him hitting the inside wall. So come on, big country. We need you, baby. We need you, big country.
The comment for everyone's making was, "Oh, why is that wall there? How about just don't hit the wall when you're doing?" Would that be
The wall there? Blame the wall. Go
He
ahead.
went in blind. It's
That's
all
all.
right.
Probably just rage bait on Twitter, but that's all.
Yeah.
Was it wall, or I'm waiting for somebody to do that? Just don't hit the fucking wall next time, Austin. Come on.
Let's go to the truck series. Ellie, I believe you do have at least one gainer for us.
Yeah, Kaden Honeycutt for the top 5 at 2-1. One of those guys. He's great on the comps last year. P4 at both of the Kansas races. P7 at Charlotte. And I was trying to find a race I remember watching. I don't remember if it was maybe Nashville or a mile and a half or something, where he was having a good run in an East car and then had like mechanical issues that took him out. I couldn't find what race that was. Maybe it was even 2 years ago. But regardless, the point is, one of those guys that knows what he's doing, has been waiting for this opportunity. The Nice trucks, I've given them some flack in the past, but the Nice trucks run well when they have good drivers behind the wheel. Chastain has won races for them. Hocevar has won races for them. They're now battling at the front of the fields in Cup Series. Kaden Honeycutt's a guy who's had the talent. Winner of the was at the Snowball Derby over the winter. A guy who has put in the time in late models. One of those guys that benefits from your Josh Berry making it up through into the Cup Series, being a Cup regular now. Is guys like this getting opportunities. He's done everything. I think he even ran a year in the iRacing series just to get seat time somewhere. It's exciting to see what he'll do this year. Definitely a fringe playoff guy in the trucks and a guy that's run really well when given the opportunity on these sort of tracks. I like him for a top 5 at 2-1.
Yeah, Kaden Honeycutt always has a special place in my heart. Young, talented driver, so can't blame you there. Rod, you also got some placements for the truck series. What do you have for us?
I sure do. I've got Raja Karuth, the winner of the last Las Vegas race here. I only have him as a top 10, and I got him as a top 3 rather, at plus 325 over on ESPN Bet. I would have loved his top 10 number, but top 3 I will definitely take. Look, like I said, he won this last race. 38 laps he led. He started first, finished first. It was an impressive showing for him. And it wasn't as if he fell off the rest of that. In 23 starts last season, he finished top 10 12 times, top 5 5 times. He had an average finish of 11.6 in that 71 car. Some good finishes down the road. 7th at Kansas. He finished 3rd in Bristol, which I know is a short track, but even still 8th at Homestead, 4th at Nashville. He's a front running truck, and you got to take into account, we've lost guys like Christian Eckes, right? We've lost some of these, Taylor Gray. We've lost some of these guys that he was jockeying with on a week-to-week basis. And now, I mean, we've got Corey Heim. That's great, right? We've got Daniel Hemrick. That's great. But Raja Karuth is still one of those guys that's able to mix it up and to be in the conversation as one of those good trucks. The Spire trucks are not bad trucks, by the way. I know Corey Day is going to be in one of those this coming week. And then we've got Justin Haley in the 07. But he's actually been pretty good in the last couple of races. I know it's not for the trucks. It's been even shorter than the Xfinity and the Cup Series because they've only run 2 races. But, he started 4th in Atlanta, ended up crashing out of both of the races. But I think this is a great opportunity for him to rebound and to at least finish in the top 3. I'd love to see him win, but a top 3 at plus 325 is still a damn good bet to make.
Yeah, I like the placement props a lot better for Raja because obviously he won this race last year, but I feel like it almost kind of reminds me of the way Bowman runs sometimes up in the Cup Series. Is you can win a race on your day, you can make it happen when you got a perfectly good setup, but otherwise it's like, okay, he's running pretty well, but
he is the Alex Bowman
running
truck,
5th, 6th, 7th, 8th is the same as running 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th in the Cup Series. Sort of. It's like you can run well, but can you go lead laps? Can you go dominate races? And that's what
Kyle Busch was in that race. Yeah.
That's what I want to see from Raja more. Is once he gets that second win, I feel like I'll be a lot more confident in him than just getting that first win and not being able to repeat it last year. But like you said, Spire's good trucks. I feel like he's a talented enough driver to do it. I'm just very okay with the placement props right now. I'm completely hands off on whatever his outright market is anywhere.
Yeah, agreed with you there. And Rod, it seems like you got a little gainer here on a guy that you can't quit. This guy, you cannot.
Old recognizes old, Matt. You and I, buddy. This is what happens when you're an old man and you just back the old guys in the series. Matt Crafton, top 5, 12-1, 28 starts on this track for Matt Crafton, going all the way back to 2001, sometime before a lot of you guys were born out there. He was still tooling around on the old Las Vegas. You were 3.
Yeah.
Matt Crafton was starting his first Truck Series race in 2001. In 28 starts, 18 top 10 finishes. That's 64% of the times he's finishing out of the top 10. 11 top 5s. And, he doesn't have a win on here yet, which is why I'm not giving him a win. But a top 5 at 12-1. Let me read his last finishes. Now, remember, the trucks only come here once a year. So 7th last year, 11th, 7th, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 4th, 30th, 3rd, 5th, 29th, 7th, 8th, 8th, 3rd, 11th, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd. I mean, I'm getting tired of only one syllable finishing positions in here. But Matt Crafton, at 12-1, you're not going to see Matt Crafton for a majority of the day. And then all of a sudden at the end of the day, they're going to go, look at the 88 car or 88 truck. It's in 5th place. And you're going to go, I know, because I said it was going to happen. So 12-1 for Matt Crafton. I just, this number's too big for a guy that can finish in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I love it for sure. We know the Thor Sport trucks are good. I think, didn't I shout out Matt Crafton as a possible outright at Daytona? I think maybe the old Wiley vet's got one more win in him, but regardless, a guy that even though his last championship is behind him, who knows how long he's going to keep running this deal, but definitely a guy that can still go wheel a truck when he needs to. I like this a lot. At 12-1, that is a big gainer for the week for sure.
If Crafty pulls out a win this year, I mean, he's gonna party like it's 2001, baby. It's gonna be an all-time rager. He might not get up the next day. That might be the end of Crafty.
Fingers crossed, he runs well at Pocono. We'll try to hop in that party and let you know how it goes.
Let's go, baby. Elliot, what do you say we shift gears here one last time tonight?
Yep, so we are ready to fire off with Formula One in the 2025 season. The season opening Australian Grand Prix takes place Sunday, March the 16th at midnight Eastern time. So obviously late night or super early morning for us over here. It's at the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit, and we each have thrown out a Formula One bet to lead off the year. Seth, we haven't heard from you in a minute. Let's go ahead and see what you got.
Yeah, I love a little F1 fuckery here. So I'm hammering down on Carlos Sainz Jr. minus 150 at BetRivers over Pierre Gasly. And F1 is so tough to bet, boys. Like, this is something you either have to, if you want to bet placement props, you either have to invest in multiple to parlay yourself into somewhat of a drinkable number of juice. And to find Sainz Jr. minus 150 over Pierre Gasly, I thought this was one of the steals of the week. Sainz, defending winner of this race, qualified second, led 57 laps in the making. He will be making his Williams Racing debut in this one. Certainly a step down from that Ferrari equipment. He was busting around the track last year. But Sainz was also the fastest driver in preseason testing as well. And from what I hear from those F1 marks out there, that's pretty important. That's compared to Gasly's 9th fastest time there a couple weeks ago. And in races at Melbourne, where he hasn't been met with either mechanical issues or spun off, the Spaniard, he has finished at an average clip of 8.2 on the grid. That's compared to Gasly's 11.0 average finish when staying clean at races at Melbourne as well. Last season overall, Sainz 5.7 average finish. I get the downgraded equipment. I get that that's the concern, but I think he should still be good enough to beat Gasly, who had an average finish of 12.9 last season, and the head-to-head record for Gasly over Sainz 4-19. So I'm going to think that's at least, coming back to a little bit, but I think Sainz still gets the best of him early in the season out in the great city of Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, so I was told that I'm not allowed to say Sainz is going to have a good day because I put him on the podium. Look, there's one thing that I know about Carlos Sainz is that he can drive the hell out of any equipment that he's in. And the fact that you're right, he was one of the better cars throughout this practice. I know Williams is a step down from Ferrari. I absolutely understand that. I get it. I'm not going to even sit here and say that if this were the last year with Logan Sargent or any of these guys that were driving these, they would be there. But this is Carlos Sainz. There's a reason why they got him into Williams equipment is because they believe that he can drive it better than anybody else has driven it before. So I agree with you 100% that he should finish better than Gasly. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people and put himself in position for a really, really solid finish. So I love this, Seth, and this is a good way to get in on it.
Yeah, I kind of felt bad for Sainz getting stuck in a Williams car just because of how poorly they ran last year. But people are definitely higher on this. This kind of reminds me almost of like Kurt Busch going to Furniture Row Racing. It's like you get a guy who knows what he's doing
Yeah.
coming into a team that needs some help and needs to get forward a little bit. And I do think Sainz is going to be that guy for Williams. Over Gasly makes a lot of sense. I feel like Williams and Alpine will be kind of on the same wavelength throughout the year, battling each other. And like you said, the defending race winner, it's a lot different than Ferrari equipment. And keep in mind, this was early in the year when Red Bull was still kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen out very early in that race. The mechanical issue, Sainz led, I think, the rest of the way. So maybe a race where he wouldn't have ended up in victory lane if not for the mechanical issues on the Red Bull that day. But still a day where he ran pretty well. Still a track where he runs well. Definitely a big fan of this one.
Let's go, baby. Drink that juice. Rod, what do you got for us in the F1 markets?
Well, let's talk about little Max Verstappen. This was a bet that you would not have gotten at this number last year, and that's Red Bull double top 6 plus 130. It is not obviously you've got the McLarens that are juiced to high hell. You got Ferrari, you got Mercedes that are juiced. Red Bull this year plus top 30 for a double, plus 130 for a double top 6. And I'll say it's because obviously Liam Lawson joining the group this year, taking Sergio Perez's place. But I don't know that it's that huge of an issue when you're talking about a 6th place finish for a Red Bull car. I mean, I know Sergio Perez struggled last year, but that's why he's not in this ride anymore. As for Max Verstappen, 2 of the last times that he's taken this track have not been a top 6 place since 2017. In 2017, it was a 5th place finish. 2018, 6th, 3rd, 18th, 1st. Obviously, he won in 2023. But then, like you said, had the mechanical issues. Finished 19th last year, but he did start on the pole. So I know Max is worried about where this Red Bull team is heading, but I can't see it falling, especially Max falling out of the top 6 in the first race of the year when you've had all year to prepare. As for Liam Lawson, look, he's driven some pretty mid equipment, this Red Bull equipment, to some pretty decent finishes for that equipment. A 14th place at Losail, 16th at Vegas last year, 9th at Interlagos, and then a 9th at Austin at Coda as well. And again, this is like driving your Pinto into a garage with a bunch of, I don't know.
It's like driving the 78 car at Phoenix out there with maybe not quite that bad, but somewhere. I can't think of a good comp, but that's close enough comp.
We love you, BJ. We love you, bud.
Oh, no doubt. No, and I think, Rod, I'm glad you're on board with the Red Bull stuff too, because I feel like we both are going to make a lot of money early in the year on Max Verstappen, because I understand maybe Red Bull is a step behind McLaren, a step behind Ferrari, maybe even with Mercedes now. They have not fallen that far. Max Verstappen's a 4-time world champion for a reason. He's a guy that he's just too good to run like garbage. And as long as Liam Lawson is on par, and I feel like, sometimes Checo, if he could finish the race, that was a victory for them. Max would be up there running top 3, top 4. Checo's battling for the point spot or has already crashed the damn thing. I feel like making that change, definitely a net positive, even if it takes Liam Lawson some time. Maybe he doesn't even win a race this year. Who knows? Who knows how good he really is? We'll really find out. But I know Max is definitely not going to go out quietly.
Love it. Elliot, what do you got for us here, man?
All right, so I feel like this is the perfect, most absurd way to end it. I'm taking Lance Stroll for a top 6 in this race. That is at plus 1,200 over at Bet365.
Not a bad number.
So when I was looking for an F1 bet, I was going to go on the other side. First driver to retire, driver to finish outside the point, something like that. And Lance Stroll was naturally my first place to go. This is a guy who at times has done some embarrassing shit. So there's a rain in the forecast this weekend. And the last time F1 raced in the rain was late last year in Brazil. Stroll spun out and crashed his car on the formation lap and was credited with a did not start. So this is a guy who's done some embarrassing shit. But you look at the stats in Australia.
They're good. They're really good.
I saw them. Has been really good. The team finished P4 and P3 with Alonso ahead of Stroll here in 2023. And then 6th and 8th last year. That was Lance Stroll's best run of the year last year. 23, there were, I think, 7 or 8 cars that DNF'd or fell out. But that's still a good run for an Aston Martin. And last year, no major issues there other than Max's thing. And to still get a top 6 there, finished in the points a handful of times last year. Back in 2019, before the pandemic, before they took a couple of years off here, ran 9th with a team worse than this. I understand if you think top 6 is a little bit of a stretch for a guy like Stroll. To finish in the points, which is the top 10, is 3-1. I kind of like that number too, but I feel like once I looked into it,
getting paid.
Aston Martins are in pretty well here. I feel like they're going to everyone wants to show out and run really well in the first race of the year. Give me Lance Stroll for a big gainer this weekend. Top 6 in the Aston Martin.
What do you
So
think,
what I
Rod?
love about this is that when you look at the mix-up of everything that's gone on this season and the rookies that are now and starting this one is like Behrman and all these guys that are coming in, Lawson that are coming in, and you look at what it used to be. It used to be the big 5, right? It used to be Aston Martin, Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, and then they threw an Aston Martin in there, and like now it still should be that, but if you put if you're saying, okay, look, maybe Red Bull doesn't get 2 in the top 6. Maybe my bet is screwed, right? That opens up a spot right there. Maybe Mercedes doesn't get both of their drivers now in the top 6, right? And Ferrari does and McLaren does. That opens up spots for guys like Aston Martin and Lance Stroll to get in there because they were considered one of the big 5 manufacturers a couple of seasons ago when you were getting the best without the best 5. And I think you're still getting that now. So, yeah, I mean, Aston Martin's still clearly one of the tiers, the top tier drivers or teams in the paddock. So, yeah, I like this.
Hell yeah.
They're definitely mid-tier enough. They're no shit boxes, I feel like, even though Lance Stroll may make them look like that sometimes. But
Yeah. Let us know down in the comments below, guys, your favorite F1 fuckery bets for the Australian Grand Prix. We want to hear from you. And
that will be far from my last F1 bet too. Expect if you're in there late Saturday night into Sunday morning, I'll throw some more F1 bets in there too. We're gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what we do. Also, let us know down below in the chat, in the comments, if you're watching this pre-recorded as well, your favorite NASCAR bets for the weekend, whether that's Xfinity, Truck, Cup. We love interacting with you guys. If you want more of us, you can also get invested with us over at the IBT Racing family. You're going to get entry into our memorabilia giveaways. We got a Joey Logano signed polo we're going to be giving away here in just a couple of weeks. Also, you'll get access to our exclusive weekly betting model, and you can join the conversation with myself, Rod, Elliot, Ryan from iFantasyRace, all the wonderful people we have over there. We're going to talk bets. We're going to talk life. We're going to talk everything in between, man. It's a great environment, and blessed to be along for this ride with you guys.
No doubt about it. Best way to support us, even if you're not ready to make the financial commitment, is to go ahead and like and subscribe. Take a look at the betting article we put out on the site each week where I break down some additional thoughts and outrights, and you get a little preview at that model. And, of course, Rod, to best support you, NASCAR Gambling Podcast over there on the SGPN.
Absolutely. Yep. Follow me on Twitter as well at RJ Villagomez. There's a link in the bio to everything I got going on. Like you said, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. And, of course, SoYouLikeSports.com. We've got some Australian rules football futures coming out here pretty soon. And, some more motorsports for you to digest.
No doubt about it. So, hey, whether you're betting down under or in Sin City, make it a good one this weekend. Thanks for rolling on down the back road with us. We'll see you next time.